Welcome along to this Saturday analysis of both the sprint race and qualifying for the main race itself. We had a lot of action, so I'm going to run through everything. I've got some notes on my phone. I've got the whiteboard handy. So let's get into it. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Alrighty guys, the first thing we need to talk about is Max Verstappen's defense from P1 from pole position. It's exactly what I've been saying Lando needs to do when he takes pole position. As it turns out, he's got an opportunity to show us if he's learnt this technique. And I'm just going to bring it up on the whiteboard, so just bear with me a second. We are going to have a look at the sort of defense that Max was doing. And it's a classic move, guys. So what Max was doing, if we just draw the track in Austin, so obviously you've got the pit straight here and the first hairpin at turn 1. And obviously Max pole position is here on the racing line and P2 is over here. So Max got his launch and then bang, he shot across and he defended. He was first into the apex and defended and controlled this corner. It's exactly what I've been saying Lando should do. And Max did that beautifully in the sprint race, such that when George accelerates forward, he's seen Max here and got a hold. He's had to go around here, and then the Ferraris start attacking him around the outside. All of the drama happened here between George and the Ferraris, and that allowed Lando to kind of slip up the inside as well. So that's a key move, and that's exactly what I'm going to be looking for in the main race itself, given now Lando's on pole and Max is in P2. This is exactly what we spoke about in my previous video, what Lando needs to do to win this championship. The key is going to be turn 1, lap 1. It's also going to be down on the run down to turn 12. Max is going to get a few DRS opportunities. This is going to get very spicy. So I'm going to link that video in the description below. I'm also going to put a little link on the top right of the screen here as well. So that's exactly what we're looking for, guys. And what Max did well and what Lando needs to do in the main race. So George has obviously had a bad lap 1, and that's invited Lando to go in and take P2. So with Lando in P2 and Max in P1, I was thinking like this is race on. Like we're going to see Lando start to just manage. It comes into the professionalism now. Like, can you sit in the DRS and manage your battery and manage your tires and then just slowly apply pressure and make a charge at Max here? So for some reason, and I'm not sure why, Max just pulled off into the distance. So we just saw better tire life. We saw better management. We saw more performance. Potentially we saw the McLaren getting aero washed. Max is a lot quicker in the S's than what Lando is in the S's. And that aero wash really hurts the front tires of the car as well. So Max definitely had the upper hand here. And we need to start asking ourselves, where has McLaren's pace gone? Because since that they were required to change their rear wing after Baku, after it was seen to be flexing too much, they had to make a change to that rear wing. And that maybe didn't show up in Singapore like potentially it should have, because Singapore is really high downforce. There aren't big straights. It's all about mechanical grip, and it's almost like a go-kart track in a way. But now it's potentially starting to show up in the race at least. Where did that pace go for McLaren? I really expected Lando to just, with the advantage of DRS down that back straight, I really expected him to just look after his tires and deploy his battery in such a way that he can stay within DRS. And when you stay within DRS, that gives you options for the rest of the race. You can choose to stay in DRS and save fuel, stay in DRS and save battery, stay in DRS and save tires, right? You've got choice at that point in time, which is great. But he was in DRS for the first couple of laps. He actually dropped out of DRS on lap 5. So that was really interesting to see. So where is the tire life getting lost, guys? We need to head over to the whiteboard again and have a look at this. So it is a anti-clockwise circuit, right? So that means that you go around the clock anti-clockwise. You're going into more left-handers than you are right-handers, obviously. So this is turn 1 over here. And then you're going around anti-clockwise. So you're going around the track that way. But crucially, in a typical anti-clockwise track, it would be the front right that's going to be the limitation. But that is not the tire that a lot of the drivers are complaining about. In actual fact, the tire that a lot of the drivers are complaining about is the front left tire. So we need to ask ourselves the question, where is the front left tire getting damaged? And where could it potentially therefore be be looked after? So in order to answer that question, you've got to look at where are all the right-handers on the track and where are they doing the damage. Here's one of them, 16, 17, 18, and here would be the other one that we've circled in red before as well. So turns 8 is probably the other one. So how can you look after the tyre in this corner and the other ones as well? Well, if we draw up what Max does, and this will be to his disadvantage if he continues to do this in the race, Max likes to soak up all of the track. He very much does this kind of shape through the corner. He's edge to edge to edge to edge. That's how Max likes to drive. And the problem with that over a race distance, like it's super quick in qualifying because you can carry more speed into all of these corners as well. But the problem with that is really here, you're driving extra meters, and this is where Lewis is fantastic. And this is what we need to see Lando do here with the purple line, is when you come in here, just dive into this apex and save this extra meters, get the nose in early and drive what we call tight lines. So that's also going to help with the aero wash because he's going to be slightly offset to Max if Max gets in front and he's following Max. And then he can look after his tyres, the front tyres as well. And it just means that you've got so much more options later in the stint. So we're going to look for that in turn 8. We're also going to look for that in 16, 17, 18. Ideally, the fastest line in 16, 17, 18 is that you come around and then clip the apex there. But that's, again, damaging the front left tyre. What you want to do is stay tighter. And although it's a little bit more painful in the first couple of laps, it does look after the left front tyre. Now, the other tyre, of course, that we need to look after is the right front tyre. You're dragging the right front tyre through turn 1. You're dragging it through this hairpin as well. And crucially, in turn 15, dragging the right front as well through that corner. So then you've got also 19 and 20. So I'd say both front tyres are a limitation here. If you can drive tight lines, particularly into turn 15, then that's going to help look after the right front as well. So this is going to be a race about aero wash. It's going to be a race about front tyres as well. Who can drive the tight lines and still maintain the lap time? That's what we're going to be looking for in the race proper. Okay, so we also need to talk about Lando's mistake into turn 1, the one that cost him a position. So let's have a chat about that. So into turn 1, the problem here, this is where he was under attack into turn 1. And obviously it's a very wide hairpin, which means you've got significant track width on the way in, as you can see. Now, Lando, it's caught him by surprise a little bit. He's positioned his car, as you can see on the arrow on the bottom right. And then you've got Carlos Sainz here attacking down the bottom. And Lando's seen it a little bit late and he's made this diagonal move, like done both combined braking plus steering it into this corner. So it's a late defense from Lando. And what that means is that he's locked up the left front tire, this one here, into this corner, and it's pushed him straight on. And that's why he's lost the position to Carlos. So I would say late acknowledgement of defense. Had Lando not done this and pulled to the inside, if he had pulled to the inside earlier and just done a straight braking here, he wouldn't have locked up. And it would have meant that Carlos would have had no choice but to go around the outside. So a late call there from Lando. It's kind of lazy defense that we saw from Lando, plus a mistake on top of that. That's why he lost P2 in the sprint race as well. So Lando's defense is going to come under scrutiny here. If Lando needs to really sharpen his tools in terms of defense, he can definitely win this race if he just manages the tires and keeps Max behind and does some strong defensive moves, similar to what we saw Oscar do in Baku. Lando can do it. He just needs to review, like I've done, where are the tires getting damaged? Where am I going to be under attack? What am I going to do in those situations? How am I going to manage the start, etc. Now, let's talk about Ferrari for a second as well, because that car was pretty quick. Those guys were squabbling the whole race. That is Charles and Carlos. They were squabbling the whole sprint race, but at the end, Carlos had enough pace to start attacking Lando, which was really interesting. I've said all season that Ferrari is not a bad car. I'm not sure that Carlos and Charles are actually getting the most out of it. We saw Carlos getting in there as well into P3 in the main qualifying. So it does have the ability to look after the front tires as well. We saw that in Monza. Charles pitted on lap 15 and he could get that hard tire all the way to the end of the race and win on a one stop. So that car can definitely look after its front tires. It could be a race winning car in the hands of a Lewis Hamilton. And everyone keeps saying, like, why are we signing Lewis Hamilton when you have a Charles Leclerc and a Carlos Sainz. And I would argue you need a Lewis Hamilton to take that car where it should be, because I think the car's not too bad. So let's keep an eye on the Ferrari's front tyre life in the race as well. That's another point that I wanted to cover on my notes here. Okay, let's jump over to qualifying. So we've got Hamilton making a mistake down into turn 12. He got kicked out into in the first part of qualifying, was it? Q1. So let's have a look at what's happened here on the whiteboard. So it's the total opposite of what's happened in turn 12 in this SQ3. So down here into turn 12, remember in SQ3, he got the yellow flag and he actually locked the rear going into turn 12 and had to correct an oversteer moment. This time, he's actually locked the fronts. So completely different like lock up into that corner. And again, it's in both cases, he's lost the time in turn 12. So what does that mean? Well, he's struggling with the balance into turn 12. He lost the rear in SQ3 under that yellow flag with the whole lift and coast situation. There's a chance that maybe he's put the brake balance forward in anticipation that the rear is going to be the one, that's going to let go first. What happens? He locks up the front left tire. So how can you avoid that happening? Well, like Lando's race engineer said to him, avoid combining the brake and the steering. You've got to remember, when you brake, all of the weight shoots forward and this front tire becomes loaded and this one becomes loaded. But when you turn into this left-hander of turn 12, then this one becomes unloaded. And this one then is the fully loaded outside front tire. So it's the unloaded one that's the problem. That's unloaded, meaning it's got slightly less weight on it, like slightly up. It doesn't have all of the downward pressure either through downforce or dynamic load or weight on it. So this one becomes unloaded as you put left-hand steering in the car. That's the one that Lewis has locked up and it's pushed him down into turn 12. Now, I keep saying, guys, that I would love to see one lap qualifying come back, because we saw Lewis get kicked out of qualifying and then it was like, where's the mistake? What's happened? Oh, we see a replay. Oh, that's what's happened. So I truly hate that, guys. I really think we need to get back to one lap qualifying so that we can see the drivers' laps. We can see them under pressure. And why don't we hand out a point for one lap qualifying to see who's willing to risk it all and get that point. But if you make a mistake, know that you could be starting in the midfield. That's what I want to see. We get to see the lap. Like I say, the drivers are under pressure. There's one shot. It speaks to a different skill set than you having all this practice and preparation to do a good lap. And similar to what we saw in sprint qualifying, when you've only got one practice session and one set of tires, it's similar to that. But again, I would just like to see the drivers' laps, particularly for a driver coach. It really helps the understanding and it helps shine a light on where these drivers are making mistakes, as opposed to just seeing it after the fact, guys. So that's a little bit annoying. Cool. So what happened in the first run then in the final part of qualifying? So Lando's done an excellent lap. Super duper good lap. And potentially the only slight mistake was turn 19 coming through here. Lando's just nailed it beautifully. So the rear's just gone on the way out, but he has kept it within track limits and everything was all good. The issue with Max, though, with turn 19 was he's understeered and missed the corner slightly. He's had to get out of the throttle. That's what's cost him lap time through turn 19. So a completely different issue. But turn 19 is proving tough, right? Lando had his moment there. Max had his moment there. And then guess what? George has crashed and found himself over here parked up because on the entry, the car has swapped. So this is a tricky corner. It's obviously you're pitching the car in from very wide, asking a lot of the rear tires and the front tires, and different cars are letting go at different points. With Max, it was interesting to see that he got understeer through there and the car washed out. With George, as we've seen the Mercedes turn in on entry, always having that problem with rear stability on entry. So that's why George has ended up in the wall there. It's very unlucky, very tricky corner. We saw Alex Albon as well clip the inside and get more front grip than he expected into that corner. And that meant that he was out in sprint qualifying. So it's just the drivers are expecting A and then they're getting B. So that's the problem with that corner. They're never really sure how much grip is going to be in there. So a phenomenal first run from Lando, absolutely deserved the pole. And we are going to be looking to see what he does with that. Can he get off the line well? Can he protect and defend his lead? Like we said before, these are all the things that I'm going to be looking for. And can he aero wash Max and do all of the things that Max did to him in the sprint race? It's definitely on Lando's plate. Can he convert this one into a win? We'll find out. I'll speak to you guys tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or thoughts, definitely leave them in the comments section and subscribe to this channel so that I can give you a race review tomorrow. Cheers.